I'd like to bring on our speaker again, Alan Klement. He was here this morning. Fantastic fireside chat. Come on up, Alan. You may have missed that. You have to stay for this because I know there was a lot of interest from people that I spoke to in hearing to him. And the thing that he's great at is chatting about jobs to be done and how you can use those strategies and kind of thinking to build better organizations. And he's here to present on how to create a sustainable growth strategy. It's all yours, Alan.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So is this my... I just want to make sure I get this right here. Okay, great. So actually, where's Gibson? Wherever he is, I can answer his question. I can explain why Jeff Bezos said he goes with the anecdote over the data. I'll give you 2 data points right now. Actually, this is a nice amuse-bouche to this, to what I'm going to talk about today. So why did Jeff Bezos say that? Why did Jeff Bezos say, when presented with the anecdote and the data, I go with the anecdote? I'll give you 2 data points right now, just very briefly. Spirit Airlines, if you're familiar with it, it's an airline in the United States. It's usually flies within and maybe North America. 5 years, fastest growing airline amongst them all. And its profit margin is way better than anyone else's, right? So there's kind of 2 data points right there. Another data point, most hated airline, 3 times the amount of complaints of any other airline. So there's no data point, right? Well, how do you connect that all together? Well, you need the anecdote. See, the data will tell you the results of a system, but it won't tell you why or how those data points are connected. It won't tell you the behavior of the system. And the long story short is that people in the United States, at least, are willing to tolerate a terrible airline experience for dirt cheap tickets. I mean, they will, no beverage, no pillow, wait in line, they will do it if it means I can fly from New York to Chicago for 25 bucks. So that's, the anecdote tells you that, the data does not. All right, so I got 23 minutes, so I want to jump through this. So, sustainable growth strategy. All right, so I want to touch on the kind of the things I want to go over here. Why is understanding growth important to me? So what's going to be taught maybe different about this presentation is I'm going to be talking about kind of my opinions and why things are important to me and what I'm doing about it. So this is less about me up here preaching to, telling what you guys should do. I'm going to say, look, this is what I do in my own businesses. Here's what I learned works and doesn't work, and from that, I recommend you extract how this might apply to you. From that, I'm just going to very briefly give an example of jobs to be done theory, because if this is about using jobs theory to create sustainable growth, you got to know what jobs is. How can you, use it to create a growth strategy? So I'll talk about how, actually right here, how I'm going to do and have used jobs to create a growth strategy. All right, so create products people love. I put that up here because I think I remember seeing in the promotion for this event something about creating products that people love, and I think we've heard people talk about that. I'm going to give my personal anecdote with this philosophy. Once upon a time, I was a product manager, I guess about 10 years ago, and I was doing what I thought product managers should do. I talked to users. I found out what they liked and didn't like. I prioritized backlogs. I designed features. I did all that stuff that I thought a product manager was supposed to do. So time passes, and I'm responsible for planning out and managing a major release of the next version of our product. So this is, it was a FDT, which is a toolkit for engineers to use. It was up to me to do the whole strategy, figure out, okay, what's version 4 going to be like, and what features should it be, and so on and so forth. So I worked really hard with the engineering team and the designers for about 6 months. Again, I did all the things you're supposed to do. I talked to users, designed features, prioritized, ran the engineering team, all that good stuff. Well, release happens, and it didn't go great, right? I had lots of our customers told me how great it was. Like, I was actually feeling good about myself at first. Okay, yeah, they're talking about us on Twitter. I think Twitter had just started, so, oh, Twitter, yeah, there's lots of tweets about how the amazing stuff I'm doing, good job, Al. The people in the forums were like, oh, this is amazing, thank you, you've been waiting years for this. Yeah, good job, yeah, I'm a good product manager. So on and so forth. But then the conversation happens. The CEO pulls me in to his office, and we sit down. He said, Alan, you spent about 300,000 euros to do this major version. And while we got some people to upgrade, we didn't really make any money. We didn't lose money, but we didn't really make any money. And so that was so it was kind of like, why do we do this in the first place? So that's kind of where this epiphany started happening for me. It was like, well, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to make this product that people would love, and that's what I was doing. I was figuring out all these things to make this product that people would be excited about using and pleasing our users. But again, that was not meeting the business goals, right? That was not ensuring that my coworkers were going to be working there for the next 6 months or a year. Right? So that was like a big weight on me. So that's when I thought, okay, I need a different way to think about what I am as a product manager supposed to be doing. And so that's when I started figuring out and putting a priority on this idea of growth. It's kind of interesting. It's weird. Even though I spent years as a product manager and I thought I was a good product manager, I never thought about growth. I mean, that's what the biz dev guys do. That's what they do. I'm supposed to, again, prioritize the backlog, so on and so forth. So that's when I thought I need to start thinking about growth. Maybe that's my job, or one of my jobs as a product manager, is to really think about how I'm supposed to create growth. So I came up with, I haven't read any business books, I have, but nothing really gets me excited. This is how I think about creating growth for a product that I've done myself and continue to do in the future. So when I think about growth, I think, okay, well, that means creating something new that will attract new customers. Right? So that's one thing I think about creating growth. Another way of creating growth is changing the product in a way so new people will buy it. Short version is, and I kick myself thinking about this, so this was a critical lesson for me. Like, there was a feature that was requested by users, but it was like really low priority. Not that many people were requesting this feature when I was product manager. And I remember the biz dev guy was like, you need to have this feature in there. And I was like, no, but like no one, I talked to lots of users. They don't ask for that. I don't ask for that. Looking back, I know why he did it. Because he wanted to, he should have said this, but I didn't, or maybe he did, and it didn't click on my brain. This one feature was needed to attract more enterprise customers. And while I was making features for like individual developers to buy, he was trying to attract Adobe and Microsoft, people who buy like 1,000-seat licenses. He was like, you need to make these change so we can get Microsoft to buy this product. Didn't click in my brain at the time because I was like, oh, no one asked for that. But that was a critical lesson. So thinking about changing the product in a way so new people will buy it. And the third growth channel I think about is create something new that I can sell to my existing customers. Tangible example of this would be, again, so we made this product for engineers to use. So we created this kind of a training academy, right? So that's another way of thinking about creating a new product that we would sell to existing customers. Great, you've bought our product, you're spending 600 euros a year on this. Now spend an extra 150 euros to buy our training academy. So that's, when I think about growth, those are the three big things. And of course, yeah, you have to make sure you don't lose your existing customers. And I think that is an important answer, question to think about, why it's important to keep your users happy, but don't, I'm not going to say you, me, I don't prioritize this, I prioritize this. If I do start losing people, then I think, okay, I need to make a change. Like if I'm losing lots of people, then I make a change. But I'm focusing on doing these three things. All right, so again, in my personal quest here, I realized, Alan, you need to change, because how you thought about your job as a product manager was not working out, right? And I was putting my coworkers at risk. I mean, it wasn't even about me. I had to work with great people, and if we couldn't pay the bills, then they lose all those jobs. So I wanted to make sure that I was, talk about a push, right, to motivate yourself. So, okay, I need to change my thinking. I need to think about growth, start bringing growth thinking into my work as a product manager. I still needed something else. I needed some framework to think about how to start creating that growth. And I don't mean a strategy, like a tactic. I needed a philosophy that would guide me. And so that's how I came across Bob Mesta's work and Rick Peaty and John Palmer, who we mentioned a little bit at the fireside chat, their work in this area of jobs to be done. So that's what attracted me to it. So, what is jobs to be done? Well, it's here. It's a theory that aims to explain why consumers buy and use a product. And we mentioned this fireside too. It's not about how they use a product, right? It's why they're buying and using it in the first place, right? So I think I mentioned it before, it's the why before the why, right? In that article that was floating around on Twitter, which I was glad someone tweeted that. Thank you for that. It's why they start using their product in the first place. Then, once you do that, then you can focus on usability and keeping them on board. But what's that why before the why? So that's what customer jobs theory aims to answer. I find there's two quotes I find helpful in kind of encapsulating jobs thinking. Here's the first one. Charles Revson, in the factories we make cosmetics, in the drugstores we sell hope. Again, kind of going back to that idea of what's the North Star of your organization, what's going to bind everyone together, right? What are we really, sure, we make and sell cosmetics, but what are people really buying? Here's another one. I really like this from Kathy Sierra. Upgrade your user, not your product. Don't build better cameras, build better photographers. And this is a good job of illustrating the concept of progress, right? You're not in the business of making a better camera, improving features, or even just the usability of the product. You're in the business of making better photographers. How can you do that? So I'll give one of my favorite examples, and I've touched on it before. Weber. We'll learn about other things too about Weber, but they're iconic for this grill. Actually, they even have it on their logo. So most people, when they hear Weber, they think about this grill. So that's what they make, one of the things they make, and that's one of the things that they sell. But why do people buy these things? Well, interestingly enough, Weber ran this social media campaign asking people, why do you grill? Like, why do you grill? So that's actually a really great question also. It's not, why do you love our product? It's, why do you love to grill? A little different. So here are some of the answers. I love to grill because I love to see the happiness it brings to all who get the chance to enjoy what comes out of it. So there's kind of this dimension of caring and belonging and recognition, right, of why I grill. Here's another one. I like hearing compliments, right? So again, this kind of recognition job here. There's this dimension to it. Even though it was a rough day or week, Nothing compares to the scent of animal protein getting happy over the sacred farm. Right? The original aromatherapy. Right? So there's this dimension of, okay, there's a pleasure, there's a kind of relaxation job going on here. This is kind of why people are buying and using these grills. Another one, chicks dig it. Okay, I don't need to explain that job. Here's another one, which I really like this one. I love to grill because it allows me to experiment with my creativity. So now there's like this dimension of self-actualization, right? Building a competence, improving myself in these other ways. So my question for you all to think about is, what business is Weber in? Right? I'll give you some examples to think about. It's not in one business, I'll tell you that. My opinion. And again, to answer this question, think about the Charles Revson quote, right? In the factories we make cosmetics, in the drugstore we sell hope. But also think about the Kathy Sierra, right? Don't build better cameras, build better photographers. So what business might Weber be in? And of course, what do we think consumers are really buying? So that is, in the 3 minutes I have up here to kind of devote to this, that's kind of jobs thinking encapsulated here. It's not about the product. It's not really so much about how I use the product. It's why I bring the product into my life and how my life becomes better and improves because of that. So this thinking has, I really suggest everyone do this, right? Just when you're thinking about products that you buy, or even go to other companies' websites, and you can kind of see when people kind of have this thinking, or if they don't. You can kind of see how you can craft a growth strategy from this thinking. So, how does this inform a growth strategy? All right. So, I will again use Weber as an example. So, again, I love this because this grill, this iteration was introduced in 1952. Actually, I think the guy started it in 1947-ish, or 48 or 49, and then did like a prototype, and then someone made some comments, and they came out with like the initial version, and then after initial success, they sexed it up, and then it became this. But this is largely unchanged for what, 70 years? I mean, think about that. Think how often you change your product, right? These guys haven't changed it in 50 years. I mean, it's consumer packaged goods, a little different, but just think about not changing a product for 50, 60 years. I think that's pretty impressive. So they didn't achieve growth that way because they didn't change the product. So how did they? How have they been in business for 70 odd years? Well, they make all this other stuff. I mean, yeah, they make grills for different context of use, right? So this is probably, this is maybe for the guy who likes to relax by the fire, right? So this is kind of, it's all about me and, relaxing after a hard week. Maybe this guy does it too, but this is very much about like, okay, I'm throwing a party and I want to be the hero and I want to impress everyone. Yeah, that's what I want to do. But they also sell everything else, right? Involved in making that type of progress, right? And helping you become a better griller, helping you become a better party hoster, right? They sell all those things. And that's why they even sell things, make and sell, cookbooks, videos, and this is pretty cool. You can't really see it, but they actually sell catering services. Right? That's very interesting. So it's almost like, the short version is, they will make sure you throw the barbecue party that everyone in the neighborhood is going to talk about the whole next year. And it's going to blow away everyone else, right? That's what it's like. So you get to, wear the hat and poke the meat, and, you get to do that. Meanwhile, Weber is going to do all the real work of, buying the meat and prepping it and doing the tent, and they're going to worry about all the stemware, but you get to be the hero. So again, I kind of alluded to it, but I like this. Think about this. They're not just selling grills, and it's not just about grilling, right? There's something more, right? And again, what progress is it offering? Right. I have another example. Consumer packaged goods. And I understand that I'm sure a lot of you are from the software world. And actually, I'll give a software example that I'm doing myself, make it a little more, help you connect the dots in your brain. But I find that I think the reason why consumer packaged good companies are maybe better at this thinking is because they're already naturally constrained. Like, okay, we're making a physical object, so we can't. I mean, how many bells and whistles can I add to a drill? I mean, you're limited by just the physics of reality of what I can do to a drill. Whereas in software, it's, hey, let's add a share button. And we're talking about that. Hey, everyone's doing chat these days. Let's add a chat. Yeah. Anyway, so again, I think they're good at it because they're forced to recognize that, okay, just changing our product may not necessarily, it's expensive and the return on investment may not work for us. So again, check out DeWalt's website. Look at all this stuff they sell. It's just everything, clothing, shoes, all different kinds of drills and saws and compressions and battery chargers and stereo systems. But this is getting interesting over here. Is this a pen? Oh yeah. So this is great. They sell certification. So it's like, okay, great. We'll sell you the tools to get started in a career and being a contractor, but we'll also make sure that you have certification so that you can get that job, right? That you know what to do and that you can get that job too. These things are interesting down here too. This is around security. So this is about maybe less so for the people who are individually buying this, but for maybe managers of work sites. This is like security stuff. So this is keeping track of all the tools that are on the tool site. There's problems around tools being stolen. So they sell these like alarms and GPS tracker things, and also this software platform. I mean, they make drills, and that's where they started. Now they're making software, but not to like, I don't know, make your drill more cool. It's actually help you managing a workspace. Right, making sure that, okay, all the workers, okay, we all know what everyone's using, we all know what drills everyone's using, we know where they are, no one's walking off with gear, so on and so forth. So again, what business is DeWalt in? And I think a way to help you answer that is, what progress does it offer consumers? Now, again, it's probably in multiple businesses, and it's offering different kinds of progress, but I think that's kind of a helpful exercise to run yourself. All right, so now we kind of come to the part about myself. Okay, so again, I don't want to be up here telling you all what you should do. I think that's lots of people up there are willing to take your money and tell you what you should do. But I'm just going to talk about what I do, and I think you'll be able to apply it to what you yourself do. So this is what I do. All right, so first off, I think about what business am I in. So I'm actually applying this own theory, this own thinking to what it is that I am in the business of. So long story short, I think there's two businesses that I'm in. First one here is I feel like that I empower individuals and organizations with market intelligence so they can create sustainable growth. I think that's one kind of type of progress. That's one job to be done that I am being hired to help organizations do. Another one is I enable the people within an organization to work together as a system to create sustainable growth. It's interesting, I only realized this, I didn't realize this soon enough. I wish I had, but at first I thought, oh, I just, I let the product manager stuff and I got into jobs thinking like, oh, this is really cool. I want to learn about it and share it with others. But then people were catching on. They're like, oh, I like what you're writing. Can you share with it more? And people were like asking me, oh, can you consult us? I hadn't even thought about consulting. They just reached out to me, like, hey, do you do consulting? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so people were just hiring me and buying my books. I didn't really think deeply about why they were doing it. And so again, I kind of ate my own dog food and talked to them and tried to understand what meaningful change they were trying to make as a result of the things I was talking about. And those are two things. So what's my growth strategy plan here? Okay, well, first off, our books. right? So I wrote the Coffee and Kale Compete, and I have another one, Job Student at Work. We'll talk more about that, but so there's this revenue stream around book sales. Okay, second one, of course, there's the coaching service that I offer and the colleagues I work with that we offer people. Another one is video training services, right? So, some people, again, like to read, like the format of the book, but maybe don't want to spend money on this. And so maybe they'll also, okay, well, maybe we'll just buy this. Or maybe some people don't like to read and don't want to do this and want to do like a video training series. Or maybe they buy all three. Please do, all right? Another one is I'm building a SaaS product right now. Unfortunately, we just started about 2 weeks ago. I just hired the engineering team and working with the CTO now to found this. So I would love to talk more about this, but can't right now. But I'm building a software component, right, which enables organizations to build and create market intelligence and then use that market intelligence to help everyone work together to create a growth strategy. Another way is, this is another example thing I do. I found out that what I can do is I can sell research. This was kind of interesting. Again, if people don't want, sometimes they just want the market intelligence. They don't want to, maybe they don't want to, coaching or do the stuff. They're like, oh, look, just tell us what's going on in the market right now. So I create and sell individual market reports that people can buy. And another one is, so this is part of my future plan, right, is I want to get into the business of recruiting. Because I find that's a really big constraint that organizations have. Like, I can tell you, what data to look for, how to gather it, how to organize it, how to communicate it, but people still struggle with, okay, well, how do we get that data in the first place? How do I find people to actually talk with? So this is kind of maybe a part of my 5-year plan, is to actually get in the business of interviewing and market consumers that you can interview for market data. So again, how did I figure this out? I mentioned a little bit before. It was kind of asking people who I wanted to be in business with, but also people who were buying my product already. And that was, not so directly, right? But I was trying to figure, okay, what's the change you're trying to make, right? What's the progress you're hoping to make with hiring me, or in other ways too, right? So that's kind of how I did that. Well, actually, I think I probably right, yeah. So I looked at the types of progress people and companies were looking to make, right? So there's all different kinds of ways that companies are looking and individuals are looking to improve themselves. But I found the ones that were most interesting to me, which again I was really interested in this idea of market intelligence and organizations working together as a system. That was appealing to me, right? So that's why I chose that type of progress. I'm not in the leadership coaching thing. That's not really attractive to me or interesting to me. I like this stuff more. Yeah, and so the other thing, I looked at what they were buying. So I looked at, this should be not just buying, it's like what they're consuming. Like, it's interesting, one of my biggest competitors will be, actually it's kind of interesting of Gibson, is going to be NPS. I want to make NPS obsolete, right? I want people to, maybe they won't completely stop using it, but they'll be using it less and using this other type of data more, because it's much more rich. So that's like my competition, right, is one type of competition, right? It's like things like NPS. Or just like, the hippo thing, right? Whatever the highest paid person thinks a company should do. I want to have less of that behavior. So that's my competition. I investigated constraints. So great, we want to build a growth strategy, but we don't know how. Here are some of the reasons why we can't do it. Right? I alluded to some things before. So I pinpointed, okay, what's stopping people? And I learned that, for example, they don't know which people to talk to in the market, right? They don't know what type of questions to ask. They don't know what type of data to gather, how to model that data, how to extract insights from those data, how to then use that data within a marketing context, within a context of product design and strategy. They had all these constraints around doing those things. And so I'm in the business of helping them overcome those constraints and then, of course, work together, achieve a growth strategy. Oh, yep, and of course the last one. Design solutions that help people overcome constraints and make progress. All right, so my time's almost up here. Recap. I recommend, I do it myself, and kind of, by way, suggest you do it too. At least bring this growth thinking into everything you do. Answer, and I will ask and answer, what business are we in? That's a great question to ask yourself, but also the boardroom or within your team, like, what business are we really in? And then when you do realize or think about what business you're in and you know what kind of progress customers are hoping to make with you, think about, okay, how can we sell more progress to them? All right, thank you. How much time do we have?